We've got some big injury updates to get to on today's show. But first off, today's show was sponsored by Hexclad. You can get 10% off the best cookware out there when you go to hexclad.com/chatsports. We'll tell you more about them later on in the show. But let's get into the latest coming out of UCLA. That's where the Browns are hanging out this week before their game against the Rams. And we have some big injury news to get to following their loss in Denver. So let's start off with Myles Garrett, who at one point left the game, and we did come back in it for a red zone series, and it looked like he was kind of laboring through an injury. And then after the game, he was seen wearing a sling in the locker room, said he heard something pop in his shoulder. It was pretty scary. I did not sleep all that well last night. But Kevin Stefanski said this to the media today over Zoom. Myles Garrett is sore, but we feel good about where he will be day to day. He also added there is no structural damage to Myles Garrett to his shoulder, and Stefanski expects that Myles Garrett will play on Sunday. So some very good and encouraging news right there. No structural damage to the shoulder, and Stefanski believes that Myles Garrett will be good to go come Sunday against the Rams. And this is a big game because going into this road trip, I said if Cleveland can come out of this 1-1, that would be a big win because it's not going to be easy playing in Denver, and the Rams are playing some of their best football right now. Now, we're going to talk more about Garrett in a little bit, but let's get through the other injury updates here. Quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson took a big hit from Baron Browning. I loved how the broadcast was like, look kind of clean to me, and then DTR spitting up blood as he goes into the medical tent. But Kevin Stefanski said DTR is in concussion protocol, and he was pretty, loose at, he just didn't give up a lot of information after that because I don't think he has a lot of information right now. He has to see how DTR progresses. He's going to go through the concussion protocol, but it's a pretty strict protocol. This is not the 90s anymore. You can't just sneak guys onto the field, so we'll have to wait and see. But, of course, the big question is, let's say DTR cannot play on Sunday. Will it be P.J. Walker or will it be Joe Flacco? I have seen enough from P.J. Walker to at least roll the dice on. There's no way Joe Flacco can be worse than Walker. And P.J. Walker has not been put into great circumstances, but still, he is clearly not the answer at quarterback moving forward. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit as well. But the third injury I want to highlight now, Amari Cooper, who suffered a big hit from P.J. Locke. He did not return after that big hit in the second half. X-rays came back negative on his rib injury. So unfortunately, he's probably not feeling all that great right now, and it's probably hurting to walk and breathe a little bit if I took a big hit like that to the ribs. But fingers crossed, Amari Cooper will be available on Sunday. Fourth injury update, defensive tackle Jordan Elliott. He left the game with an ankle injury. Now, the Browns fortunately have had really good deep defensive tackle play, unlike last year, but Stefanski listed Elliott as another day-to-day player, and like Garrett and like Cooper said, he expects them all to be okay. So I think Elliott might be out on Sunday comparing to Myles Garrett and Amari Cooper. But if that is the case, they have Shelby Harris, they have Maurice Hurst, they've got really good DTs, and we might get a Siaka Ika sighting. We could see the rookie out of Baylor for the first time this season. But I know right now, like any other fan base, after a loss, it feels like the world is ending and the season is over. But if you are not giving up on this team, hit that thumbs up button. The Browns are 7-4. The Browns are 7-4. Right? And if I told you after this road trip that Cleveland comes back to, or the Browns come back to Cleveland sitting at 8-4, going into a couple of home games to round out the year, I bet we'd all be pretty much on board with that, knowing that there is no no Deshaun Watson and no Nick Chubb at this point in the season. So let's keep morale up right now. Hit that thumbs up video if you are not quitting and you are not giving up on this team. Now, as for Myles Garrett, I'm not saying this with any sort of factual background. I'm not giving any sort of source's opinion on this. This is just my opinion, and that is Garrett is probably playing through a ton of pain. I think this is one of those injuries where if the season was lost, maybe you see Garrett go to IR, but the Browns sitting at 7-4 have a lot to play for. Myles Garrett's a captain. He's a leader. He's an example setter. He's a tone setter. So he's going to go out there. He's going to play through pain, and he's going to set the bar pretty high for everyone else to not just, kind of hurts a little bit today. I don't want to play. Like, it's football. It's tough. There's going to be a lot of injuries, especially at this point in the season. No one is really healthy. But I feel like this could be one of those situations where after the year, Myles Garrett gets like cleanup surgery. Again, I'm not saying that's a factor or anything, but I always found it a bit funny when players get cleanup surgery. Like, it's still surgery. We're not asking him to go clean up his bedroom. Like, you're getting under the knife, under anesthesia. So that term has always made me laugh, but it sounds like Garrett is going to soldier on through for the rest of the year, but it does not sound like Myles Garrett is going to be at 100% following this. Now, before we get on to the rest of today's show, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor today. Are you ready to rock your holiday cooking game this season? Look no further than Hexclad, the revolutionary cookware brand that's changing the way we cook during the most wonderful time of the year. Now, Hexclad gave me a wonderful script to read, and I'm going to go off script for a moment because I hosted Thanksgiving this year. Had the parents come down, my one-bedroom apartment. It was a little cramped, but we cooked a Thanksgiving dinner thanks to Hexclad, and usually my mom's a little disappointed in my cleanliness and my cooking abilities, but not this year. Thanks to Hexclad, they really bailed me out. Hexclad is a lifetime warranty, by the way. These are literally the last set of pots and pans you will ever have to buy. For all of my cooks out there, Hexclad has to be at the top of your holiday wish list this year. This holiday season, give yourself or a loved one a gift that will actually last forever and change your cooking game for life. For a limited time, our listeners are going to get 10% off your order at hexclad.com/chatsports. Support our show and check them out at hexclad.com/chatsports. Don't let your cookware hold you back this holiday season. Happy cooking, happy holidays. All that information is down below in the comment section and the description of today's video. Now let's talk about DTR and what this injury means, because he's not some veteran quarterback that can just roll out there on Sunday if he misses the entire week of practice in my eyes. Now, there is a lot of rumors and questions, circulating about could we see Joe Flacco start on Sunday against the Rams. Tony Grossi, I thought, had a pretty interesting tweet that you guys should see. Stefanski on what he needs to see from Flacco to start. With all our players during a season, you work with them in meeting rooms. We'll see where it goes based on, obviously, Dorian's health. So to me, it sounds like if DTR is healthy, DTR will remain the starting quarterback, okay? Jake Trotter also adding this. Kevin Stefanski on who will take the first team QB reps this week, assuming DTR doesn't clear concussion protocol right away. We're working through that. And I'm sure there is a little bit of, pros and cons list going on in a hotel room in Southern California between Stefanski and the rest of the coaching staff as to what their next best option is if they don't have DTR. I'm also guessing that Kevin Stefanski on Monday morning was not dying to go talk to the media and say, if we don't DTR, Sean McVay, write this down, we're going to go with Joe Flacco. Maybe he's going to keep things close to the vest for a little bit until he has to at least acknowledge who the backup quarterback is and reduce the amount of prep time the Rams could have for Flacco or P.J. Walker. If it is Joe Flacco, well, we can look at his stats from last year. We've seen these numbers before. He threw for 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a lot of that coming against the Browns in week 2. But if you look at his numbers since he left the Ravens from 2019 to last season, he played 17 games. So in a way, he played a full season over that stretch. And if I told you that he would throw for 4,000 yards and 20 touchdowns and 11 interceptions with this Browns defense and this special teams, I bet we could all agree. Like, that is probably a 10-win team at minimum. I said it after the Steelers game, and I maintain the stance that DTR is not playing bad. Like, if you want to go bring up old receipts of tweets after the Steelers game of, like, we need Joe Flacco right now, I came out of the Steelers game thinking, yeah, DTR didn't wow me, but he definitely didn't look like an unplayable quarterback. And I got the same sense from him in Denver this week. Like, the game plan did not ask for DTR to really push the ball down the field that much. So while it felt like the offense was running a bit dry and a bit stale, DTR was just following the play calling. Now, as for the play calling, we'll unpack that in a little bit because I got some opinions to unload on that. But the question is, do you trust Joe Flacco or Dorian Thompson-Robinson? Because the Browns don't have time to waste. The next game they're going to play is in the month of December. Like, if you want to roll with Joe Flacco, you got to make that move soon. Because if you decide, hey, we gave DTR 4 games, he showed us not enough to be a starting quarterback in the playoffs, and you decide to toss Joe Flacco out there in Week 17, Well, Flacco might need more than just a game or two to get ready to play playoff football. So if you give Flacco some reps right now, come the end of December and start of January, he could be starting to get into a real groove, or at least as best as possible, given that he was added in November. If DTR cannot practice this week, I feel like starting him against Aaron freaking Donald might be a massacre waiting to happen, right? Starting anyone against Aaron Donald is not like something you look forward to doing because Aaron Donald removes heads for a living. If Aaron Donald was not playing in the NFL, he might have a second gig in Papua New Guinea as a cannibal, just taking heads off because that's what he does. So if DTR, your rookie QB, misses all week of practice, no preparation for the Rams defensive line, no preparation for how to handle Aaron Donald, maybe turning to Joe Flacco, who knows what it's like to go up against the best edge rushers in football. He did it for a long time in Baltimore against some good Steelers defenses and just great defenses and great edge rushers altogether. He might have a better idea as to how to get the ball out a bit quicker, right? He sure knew how to do that against the Browns in Week 2 last season. Now let's talk about Stefanski and just kind of put a bow on the Browns-Broncos game in Week 12. I understand that people are very upset that Kevin Stefanski asked Dorian Thompson-Robinson and PJ Walker to throw it a combined 42 times. And you might instinctively go, yeah, but Matthew, they were trailing, right? They had to throw the ball to get back in the game. They were down 5 in the fourth quarter. So they were one score away. And in fact, the drive that DTR got hurt on was 3 straight passes. So maybe a run play right there keeps DTR's head on his shoulders, and the Browns actually moved the ball down the field because they were averaging 4.5 yards a pop. What I'm here to say is everyone's got the same shtick when it comes to Kevin Stefanski. Those that don't like Kevin Stefanski, well, they look at a whole body of work, a whole game, right? And they ignore 99 good decisions that Stefanski makes. I thought the play calling in the red zone was really good. Dorian Thompson-Robinson's first touchdown pass was on a great play design. He's got 3 guys in the backfield, Harrison Bryant, Nick Harris, and Jerome Ford. And he's going to slip Bryant behind everyone else and have him pop open in the end zone. So 99% of the good stuff Stefanski does, the haters ignore, and they just focus on the one bad decision he makes, and that is probably not sticking to the ground game enough in this, and they blow it up and act like nothing else happened in the game. You can do that with anyone in any profession. No one is perfect at their job. What you're asking for out of anyone in any career field is to do more good things than bad things. And the elites at their jobs, whether it's football or anything else, do the good things a lot more often than the bad things. And I think in Stefanski's case, he does a lot of really good things. Sure, there are some boneheaded decisions, but there's no head coach out there that is perfect. There really is not. I mean, this kind of goes back to the Ryan Day at Ohio State stuff. Yeah, I understand you have to beat Michigan. Like, that's priority number 1. But would you rather go 11-1 and lose to Michigan, or would you rather go 9-3 and lose to Michigan, Penn State, and Wisconsin? Because you might not find someone else that's any better than 11-1, and that's a tough pill to swallow. So I don't know why I made this about the Buckeyes, but I did at the very end. So all in all, I'm still standing behind Stefanski. Let me know if you are down below. Make sure to subscribe if you are not already, and we'll see everyone later.